you can see the growths in there, and you can pull them with the tweezer and they'll come out in like a 2.5 foot, the length of the leg.
This is Callum Smiles for Rebel News, and in this third and final part of the 3-part interview series with Milton Keynes undertaker John O'Looney, John discusses what he's finding in the deceased bodies of those who've had the COVID-19 vaccination. Here you go.
So the main thing I wanted to find out by coming to meet you today is what exactly are you finding in people, and what's like the process about finding these clots?
So it's a very interesting story. So probably 18 months ago, we'd heard a few reports of blood clots. We were assured, oh, it's very isolated incidents. I then, in February, March time, saw a couple of videos from a guy called Richard Hirschman. He's an embalmer who's been very outspoken, bless him, and he's a good guy, and he's based in Alabama in the US. Now, he's a trade embalmer, so what he does is he goes from funeral home to funeral home embalming bodies, and he does a lot of deceased annually, you know, probably maybe 1,000 or so. So there are two types of embalming, main embalmings. One is a post-mortem case. The other is what we call a straight case, where there haven't been post-mortems, yeah? So with a straight case, the way it works is we would cut into the carotid artery, just below the collar line, halfway through. They insert a little nozzle from a formaldehyde pump, and they pump fluid around the body using the arterial, the circulatory system. And what happens is the fluid, as I showed you over there, is pink, so it puts colour in people, and it preserves people. It's got formaldehyde in it, and this particular chemical sets people, it preserves them, and then it's a more pleasant process to view them, because nature doesn't take its course. You know, the last thing I would ever want anyone to do is walk into a chapel and see a loved one decomposing and smell them. You know, that's kind of why it's done. So that's a straight case, and we were finding for the last 18 months we were struggling to embalm some of them, and I thought that the pump might be playing up, you know, that they perhaps wanted servicing or a new diaphragm in it, or but it's as you can see, it's got a pressure gauge on there, and we could see that it was doing the pressure it should do. So then you have to wonder, well, is perhaps this person clogged up or blocked up, or are they full of clots that we're hearing about? And then we tallied it that actually they'd all been vaccinated, and we were asking people at the point of arrangement, was mum vaccinated, was dad vaccinated, was your son vaccinated, was your daughter vaccinated? So we know the vaccine status of these deceased we have. And they were happy to tell us, you know, because it was a big thing, wasn't it? Everyone wanted to know your vaccine status. So then we watched these videos from Richard Hirschman, and he was showing endless amounts of a white growth, for want of a better word, these growths that were he was finding inside the arteries and veins. So we kind of knew what we were going to find, and then we had to wait for someone who'd been post-mortemed, though. So the way that works is, with a post-mortem case, when they're taken in, they're cut down the middle of the abdomen from the groin to just below the neckline. Their organs are removed. They test the organs, blocks and slides, for injury, disease or damage. And then those organs are then repatriated to the body. They're placed into a bag. The bag goes into the cavity. They're sewn up. So clearly their circulatory system has been compromised. All the arteries, the main arteries and veins that feed every organ, have been cut to remove the organs. So the way that works is when they come into us as a post-mortem case, it's a bit more involved to embalm them. We have to cut the stitches, take the bag of organs out, and then they manually target all of the severed arteries that you can see sitting there where they've been cut. You know, like the main arteries coming up the legs, called the femoral artery. You can see the cut of it where it's been, and it feeds various bits. Now, when we've done that, and we've gone to manually target these, you can see the growths in there, and you can pull them with the tweezer, and they'll come out in like a 2.5 foot, the length of the leg. So we'd been waiting for a guy who'd died suddenly, who shouldn't have died, and was young, and who'd had a post-mortem, and the family who then asked us to embalm, because we can't start doing post-mortems here. We're not licensed to do so. But in order to embalm someone, you have to take the bits out, and you have to look and target those arteries. So this, we had a young guy of 30. He died suddenly, no comorbidities. He was in good condition, bless him. And when we looked and we took the organs out and manually started targeting the cut arteries that were cut during the post-mortem process, you could see they were full. He was full of these white growths. Now, my embalmer is BIE registered, the British Institute of Embalmers. He's done 20 years. Richard Hirschman, I know, has done over 25 years. There's another guy called Brenton Faithful. He's based in New Zealand. He's been speaking openly about it, and he's done 40 years. You know, there's another one called Robert Watson, who's based in America. He's been doing, and I've had loads of phone calls from loads of them. And when we pulled, so we took tweezers to try and clear this obstruction in this young lad's artery to put the nozzle down to embalm him because it's blocked. And he's pulled, and he's pulled, and he's pulled, and he's pulled. And the full, this clot was kind of 2.5 feet long, and it was the full length of his femoral artery. Now, when he's looking through the organs are riddled. His aorta, the main vessel under the heart, was absolutely full, probably 90% blocked. And we collected these samples really because we had no option, because he was all blocked up. We had to clear him to embalm him. I then spoke to the coroner. I emailed the coroner's office and said, look, we found these in this young lad. I don't know if you've seen them. This isn't normal. I'm really concerned. Do you know what it is? And, you know, if you want samples, we can send them down. And I didn't get a reply. And then I took a phone call. So there was no paper trail, conveniently. And they said, no, we spoke to the pathologist. They're quite happy. You can dispose of the samples, and there's nothing, nothing to see here. And actually suggested that these would have grown inside this young lad post-mortem. Yeah, so when you die, apparently, this calamari type silicon grows throughout your arteries. Yeah, when you're like, no, it doesn't. It really doesn't.
Even if that was the case, that's not normal.
No, I've been 16 years, and I've worked for the Coroner in Northamptonshire for 7 of those. So I've seen people in various states, road crash victims, suicides, hangings. I've seen the post-mortems, we've had to open them up to embalm them after they had a post-mortem. So I've seen the inside and out of hundreds and hundreds of people over 16 years. And I've never seen anything like that. And neither has my embalmer. And this would explain why we've been struggling to embalm straight cases that have been vaccinated for the last 18 months. So the way it works, I believe, is this. We all have arteries inside our body. Some people have arteries. We're all different shapes and sizes. Some people have arteries as big as my little finger. Other people have arteries about the same width as a biro pen. Still do the job. They're still adequate. And everything in between. There's a broad spectrum of the anatomy. Now, it's fair to say if you had 10 kids the same age, born on the same day, they would all grow at different rates, because biologically we all grow at different rates, So it's a fair assumption to say that if these vaccine recipients are generating this white stuff in their arteries, some of them, that's going to grow at different rates. Yeah. So if the planets align and you grow it particularly quickly and you have narrow arteries, that's why we're seeing record numbers of footballers and athletes falling over and dying, many of them on national TV. That's why games keep getting stopped and paused for someone dying in the crowd in record numbers, and people must look at the ONS data, for example. So the Office of National Statistics is government generated data, and it's constantly hovering at about 20% over the norm for a 5-year average. These are not COVID deaths. I couldn't tell you the last time I had someone in that was a COVID death, because they're just not dying from COVID anymore. There are no COVID deaths that I'm aware of. Certainly none of them months since I've even seen one labelled. So what are they dying from? Why are we seeing cardiologists speak out and be silenced and threatened and struck off and deregistered when there's clearly something very, very wrong? As a funeral director, I really don't want to be standing here doing this. I just want to be looking after people. And part of me looking after people is warning people of the perils of these vaccines. Now Ursula von der Leyen has just ordered, via the EU Commission, enough for everyone to have 12. Now, if you rewind and cast your mind back, there was a time when they said 15 days to save the NHS. That's all that was needed. and then the most vulnerable to have a jab, and then 2 jabs, then 3 jabs. They've ordered enough for 12 for everyone now. I can tell you as a funeral director, these vaccines are killing people. I'm seeing it firsthand. The numbers, it's undeniable. And the effort being made to silence and censor people is undeniable. I'm very much into, you having your bodily autonomy over your own body. And I respect your decision. I would ask people to respect mine in that I'm never, ever going to have it. Do I need to have it to function and be part of society and have a bank account and driving license, etc., etc.? No, I don't believe I do. Why should I? If anyone thinks that's unreasonable, you have to question yourself. I'm seeing it. It's undeniable.
So there you have it. What many were calling a conspiracy is actually an alarmingly common trend noticed around the world by medical professionals and undertakers. What John was saying was difficult to listen to, but it's important to know the truth. Thank you for watching. If you found that interview informative and you'd like to see more, head over to ukreporters.co.uk where we cover a wide range of subjects. That's ukreporters.co.uk. Thank you.